Brief introduction. I kind of want to go over with everyone the processes and procedures for what is required of liquor licensees to obtain clearance from the Department of Revenue. This is going to be recorded for future reference. So I will go ahead and get started. If there are any questions, if you could pose them in the chat, put your hand up. We will answer questions at the end of the presentation. All Pennsylvania liquor license holders are required to be in compliance with the Tax Reform Code of 1971. The licensee must obtain tax clearance from the Department of Revenue and Labor and Industry every year. The Department of Revenue clearance process is completed on management companies as well as the licensees that are associated with the LCB license. And they are also required for anyone who's applying for a new license, if a license is being transferred, or if a license is being sold. The buyer, the seller both need clearance, and the transferor or the transferee will also need clearance. This is what the handout is. This is the renewal and validation sequence. The Commonwealth is divided into 11 separate districts. The renewal period is at the end of a month, depending on which district that you live in. These are the first 5 districts, and these are districts 6 through 11. And it shows the renewal and the validation sequence with the dates across the top. So we are going to go through one of these, and we are going to use District 6 as the example, so that we can all see what their deadlines are and how the clearance process works. So for District 6, the deadline for the renewal filing without fines from PLCB, Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, is May the 2nd. If this filing deadline is missed, the license must have the renewal completed by the 30th of June, or the license will expire and the entity will not be permitted to serve alcohol. So what LCB does is they give them a renewal date. They have to have their application in, all their fees paid, if they're in District 6, by May the 2nd. If for some reason they fail to meet this deadline, they give them an actual drop dead deadline with fines and everything of June the 30th. If they're not renewed by June the 30th, they're not permitted to serve alcohol at their establishment. So with the start of District 6, Revenue receives an electronic file from PLCB approximately 4.5 months prior to the first renewal filing deadline. For District 6, as you can see, that file comes into Revenue on December the 15th. The file is run through an automated clearance process for the initial compliance check. If everything is compliant, which if the EIN matches and the name matches and are able to locate it between the PLCB and Revenue, and they are compliant, meaning the entity, and on an individual basis, if all taxes are compliant, this liquor license will get cleared automatically. If the license is compliant and there, again, are no discrepancies, the license will go through the automated clearance, which runs at the end of the month, which for District 6 will be December the 31st, and the license will be cleared automatically. That's it, and they are done. They will have up until their filing deadline to go through PLCB online, pay their fees, and get their license renewed or validated. If after the initial compliance check, if the license remains in a non-compliant status, Revenue sends a non-compliant letter to the licensee the first day of the following month. So this is the body of the letter that they receive, and it tells them that they are not compliant. So for District 6, this letter is sent out on December the 1st. I'm sorry, for District 6, it's sent out January the 1st. So the first 15 days, they went through an automated compliance. If they made compliance, no letter goes out, they're going to be cleared, they're ready to go. If they failed the compliance check, they will receive a letter the first business day of the following month telling them that they are not compliant. The letter advises them to contact the Business License Division. It gives them the resource account to reach out to them. This case will remain open until the end of that month. So this will stay with compliance, and they will have 30 days to reach out to compliance and say, what do I need to get my liquor license renewed or cleared for this year? I received a letter saying I'm non-compliant. So again, this letter here would be mailed out for District 6 on January the 2nd. If the licensee contacts revenue within the 30 days, that becomes compliant during the period, the case will be updated and the license will clear automatically and at the end of the month. So for District 6, when that letter goes out on January the 2nd, they have 30 days while this remains with compliance to get whatever is needed for them to obtain compliance. And then on the 31st, we close this file. If they obtain compliance by January the 31st, the license will automatically be cleared when the file closes. At the end of this month, all cases close either compliant or non-compliant. Any licensee remaining in a non-compliant status will need to be cleared manually once they become compliant. So what that means is if they failed to get the information in within those 30 days and this case closes non-compliant and they get it in the next month, there is no automated compliance. They have to call us and say, I think I got everything in, and a manual review has to be done. So we won't know after January 31st if they send the information in. This will just sit there until someone reaches out to us and tells us, we've got the information in there. Can you please review this? Then we have to actually go into PLCB's website and clear them. They have to contact revenue directly, and we will determine whether they have provided everything that is necessary. If not, we will let them know, what is still needed. And again, they will have to call us at any point after that second 30-day time frame. So they are again notified approximately 60 days before their filing deadline, because at that point, and in District 6, that would be March the 3rd. On March the 3rd, PLCB reaches out to them and they email them. They do everything by email. They email them their renewal packet. And in their renewal packet is everything that they have to complete, tells them the fees that they have to pay. And on the first page, it also tells them their status with Department of Revenue and Department of Labor and Industry. It tells them right there again if they are clear or if they are not clear with the Department of Revenue. So that, again, they're being notified of their status with the Department of Revenue. Again, this packet is emailed to them for District 6 on March the 3rd. This is what it's either the first or the second page of the packet. It will say to them, as of this date, which is March the 3rd, with Department of Revenue, you're clear, or it will say not clear if they're not clear. Department of Labor and Industry, it will say clear or not clear. So they will know again at that point in March of their clearance status. Once the licensee provides what's needed for clearance, whether it be payments, filings, proof of EIN, whatever the issue may be, again, they have to contact revenue to advise us they have submitted the required information. Revenue will complete a review of the account. If all the required information and submissions have been completed, revenue will clear the LCB license in PLCB system, which automatically populates to PLCB. We are real time with PLCB. So if I get called today and I tell you I cleared a license, LCB will be able to go into their system and immediately see it once I do it. There is a lag time for when the licensee can see it through PLCB Plus, which is the public website. Sometimes it's overnight, sometimes it's 48 hours, depending on what time of day that license is cleared. But we always advise them, it's been cleared. If they're on a tight deadline, we tell them to reach directly out to PLCB. We do not issue a paper clearance. We do not request a paper. A lot of times we will receive a tax clearance application from someone. There are no tax clearance applications for this process. All payments will require a minimum waiting period of 2 business days. after the payment is made to ensure the money is available before the clearance is issued. So if a taxpayer has not received clearance because they owe us $10,000, they go in and they pay the $10,000 today, that license won't be cleared for 2 business days to make sure that we don't have any issues with NSF issues or monies being returned. We make sure the money is processed and available to us. Some of the common non-compliance scenarios that we run into a lot is if the PLCB license has a management company listed, they are also required to go through the clearance process. So the license holder may be compliant and not owe anything, but they have a management company that runs their business for them. They are listed on the liquor license as a management company. They have to obtain the same clearances as the license holder. So we will, again, check the entity level taxes and down to the individual, depending on the structure of the company. A license prefix. So all the licenses have some type of a prefix. It's a letter prefix. Those letters determine the type of accounts that are needed by a licensee. So if they have if they're a direct wine shipper, they are going to have a DWS in front of their license, and they are going to require a wine excise tax account. So there's brewing malt beverage accounts that are required for brewers. So we have to make sure that whatever the alpha prefix is prior to the license, that they have obtained all the accounts or licenses that they need to obtain clearance. A sales tax license is required for almost all of the licenses. That sales tax license has to be in the name and the same EIN as the license holder, not as the management company. They cannot have a license in their name as a sole proprietor and have the account with Department of Revenue in the name of an entity. They have to, that specific EIN is who has the liquor license and who has to hold the liquor license and also apply for and have the sales tax license with the Department of Revenue. Most of the times when there are liabilities due, there's taxes that are due. These are for taxes that were collected by the taxpayer and not remitted to the Department of Revenue. So basically what that means, they come in and they purchase a mill and the mill costs them $20. There is sales tax due on that $20. They charge the customer pays the amount that is due. That sales tax money is to come to the Commonwealth. And what we find oftentimes is the entity, the taxpayer, they're keeping that money. So they've already collected the money, but they've just failed to pay that money to revenue. Payment plans are not an option for LCB holders for this reason, because the money has been collected and not remitted. Taxpayers are also able to log into their MyPath account to view any delinquencies, make payments. But again, if they do that and they can self-serve themselves and go in and see what they owe, MyPath is a very, very helpful tool. That's something that we ask them when they call in. Have you looked at your MyPath account? Does it tell you you owe anything? Does it say you have any non-filed returns? They can determine that if they go in and they think they've filed and paid everything and they should have their license cleared, they need to reach out, because at this point we're at the manual portion of the clearance. Just because they go in and do it, there isn't anything that tells anyone to go in and clear this. They have to call in. And taxpayers can also contact their local office. They will be provided the contact information for the agent that handles their specific region. So I think the takeaways from this that we want to show everyone is how many times the taxpayer has been notified that they're not compliant, and how many opportunities we afford them to get in touch with us, because usually at the end of each month we are overwhelmed, as I know your offices are probably overwhelmed with people coming in saying that they need clearance and they don't know what's going on, because they're at the actual drop dead deadline and know that if they don't get clearance today, they're not going to be able to sell alcohol tomorrow. And most of the times when there are delinquencies, it's for taxes that were collected and not remitted. So I will open it up to questions at this point.
Hey, Denise.
Yes.
A couple questions about having the slide deck available for the legislative staff. Is that something we could do?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Great.
Does anybody have any questions? Was there any in the chat?
Mostly about getting a slide deck afterwards and getting the handout.
I did have one question. Sorry, I couldn't get my hand raised. This is Bill Shell from Representative Williams' office. How long should it take for revenue to give clearance once PLCB sends that over? Typically, I mean, if there's no issue, and would that be different for a new license and a renewing license?
So it will take it is different for a new license and a renewing license. If it's a renewal or a validation, the file comes to Department of Revenue on the 15th of the month, and it closes at the end of that month. So it's 2 weeks. And that's 6 months and 15 days before their drop dead deadline. So if it's a 2-week automated process. If they're clear, there's no problems. We don't have to look at the ones that are compliant. They clear automatically, and it's a 2-week process. For transfers and new licenses, it's a 7-day process. I think every Thursday we receive a file from PLCB, and it goes through the automated clearance process. If it's clear, I believe it clears the next day. That file closes in 7 days. If they're not clear, it closes in 7 days. And at that point, they'll have to provide, what's needed and then call us because it'll be a manual clearance after the 7 days.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question in the chat. Is there a specific phone number these folks can call?
They would have to call their local district office, and they would be given the name and contact information for the agent that handles their area.
What role does a district office play in this process?
When they receive any phone calls on this and they know it's dealing with an LCB license, they will give the contact information to the caller, and they will also send an email to the agent that handles that area with the caller's contact information. Once they have the contact for their agent, they can contact the agent directly.
Denise, it's Matt. Did you go over, and I apologize if you did you go over the transfer sale license, the need for all parties to be compliant for that to happen?
Yeah, that's for the transfer, the sale, and the renewal. Everyone has to be compliant. Again, depending on the structure of the company, if it's a C Corp, we don't go down to the individual level. We have to be able to go down to the level to see where the taxes are being filed and paid for the entity. So if it is an LLC, any shareholders that are a part of that LLC, their personal income tax has to be compliant. A partnership, the same way. And if it is an S corporation, the same way. Those all go down to the individual level. And that would be for a new applicant as well. So if it's someone who's just applying for a liquor license and they've not ever filed their personal income tax, they won't obtain clearance until they file all the returns that would be due.
Where can we find contact details for our regional or local district office? That
information is on the website. And I can, if you're going to make the slide deck available, we can maybe add a page to it that will have that information as well. you're in Elk County, you can contact the Erie District Office. I see a question over there saying I'm in the Elk. Oh, thank you, Del. Are there any other questions? Hopefully this will help everyone understand the whole process of how we try to work with it. This is a newer process that we put in since we have gone, we've gone to the new path system. It's helped us tremendously with the automated clearances. Hopefully in the future, it will make it a lot easier. Okay, if there's no other questions, Jaime, I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Quincy, can you just drop your email in the chat? Can't find it for some reason. Question from Paige. So we shouldn't reach out to the legislative liaison team for these issues. We're always happy to help with whatever issues you guys are encountering. However, we wanted to provide an additional resource here, which might be more effective, to direct these businesses in your district directly to our agents here. But we're always happy to help. Any other questions, or are there any questions in general that folks have at this time? Now's the time, you guys all here. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you for joining us for this training. We'll get this recording up. We're still working on the previous recording for the right now stuff. And we'll make sure to get that slide deck with the additional slide and an attachment out to folks through their caucuses. So again, thank you very much for attending. Let us know if you guys have any other questions. We're always happy to help.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.